Wait ka lang. So good morning. So we'll be in the week 4. Tama ba? Week 3 pala. Week 3 ng ating pong second quarter ng Statistics and Probability. Okay po. So we are in module 6 and 7. So if you have your module 6 with you, that would be better. And module 7 naman medyo ano lang siya, decision making yung module 7. So isa-isahin natin siya. We'll be starting with module 6, which is the computational part, then the module 7, which is the decision making part. Okay, so let me share first my PowerPoint. So this is our module number 6, which is the computing of test statistics on population mean. Okay po. So last time na nagkaroon tayo ng activity with regards sa identifying whether it's C-value, C-test or T-test. Tandaan lang natin, pag Z-test, kapag ang gagamitin natin ng Z-test, kapag ang given or ang sample natin is greater than 30 or equal to 30. Pagos, ang nagkakataon lang na minsan given ang population mean, population standard deviation, or at least given man lang ang sample standard deviation, okay na yun. Basta greater than 30. Ngayon, kapag less than 30, gumagamit tayo ng t-test kapag hindi given ang population standard deviation. Pero pag given naman ang population standard deviation, kahit mas maliit siya sa 30, gagamitin pa rin natin ang z-test. Kapag, ulitin ko lang ha, pag less than 30 at walang population standard deviation, t-test ang gagamitin. At kapag naman less than 30 pero meron tayong population standard deviation, gagamitin natin ay z-test. Okay po? Technically naman gagamitin natin yung z-test at t-test pagtingin sa value. Pero pagdating sa computational part, halos pareho lang ang kanilang formula, which is the z-test is equals to the mean of the sample minus the mean of the population over the standard deviation all over that standard deviation over the square root of n. Ganun din, kung mapapansin nyo, ang ating pong t-test, pareho lang po ang given. Ang napalitan lang ay yung population standard deviation ng sample standard deviation. Naging yung ating pong population ay naging ating standard deviation, population standard deviation ay naging S as sample standard deviation. Mapapansin nyo, may nakasulat dyan na freedom, degrees of freedom, mamaya natin magagamit yon in terms of finding the decision whether to accept or to reject the null hypothesis. Okay po. But for now, we are to compute first the computed T or the computed C value. Okay? So, ang gagawin natin ngayon ay computation. Ang makukuha nating value ay computed C value and computed T value. Please take note of that. So, let's have an example. So, I have here the given, which is compute for the C value given the following information. Once one-tailed test and 0.05 level of confidence, we have our mean, sample mean, which is 70. We have our population mean, which is 71.5. We have our standard deviation, population standard deviation, which is 8. And we have our sample, which is 100. Kung mapapansin natin dito, people, given ang ating sample ay greater than 30, which is our sample is 100. So it is very obvious that we'll be using the z-test. Okay po, z-test ang gagamitin natin dyan. So since the given is n equals 100. So what is the formula natin? Ang formula natin. So our formula is z is equals to sample mean minus the population mean all over the standard deviation over the square root of the number of sample. Okay? So isa-isahin natin yan. So let's start first with our z value. So which is our z value is equals to what is our sample mean? Our sample mean is 70. Tama? Minus 71.5 all over our population standard deviation is 8 over the square root of 100. So technically, it will be better if uunahin natin yung ilalim na isolve. Yung taas at saka yung ilalim ng separately. So this will be 17 minus 71.5. So that will be negative 1.5. It's very obvious. Then over 8 over what is square root of 10, that will be 10. Then solve tayo dito. Unahin muna natin yung so pwede natin tong i-compute. If you have your calculator, it will be negative 1.5 divided by open parenthesis. I-open parenthesis natin kasi meron tayo diyang operation na kailangan gawin, which is 8 divided by 10. And our final answer is negative 1.875. Okay po. Negative 1.875. Do you have the same answer? Okay
Yes,
po.
sir.
Okay po. Clear po tayo dyan. So yan lang po ang kailangan natin gawin. So let's have another one. Let's clear this up. Okay, clear ko lang to. Okay, let's have this one naman. So let's identify the different given bago tayo ang magsasagot. So we have in the first semester, the school year, a random sample of 200. So our n, it's very much given that our n is equals to 100. Given that n is 100, it's automatic that we'll be using the z-test. Diba? Z-test agad yan kasi n agad yan. So, identify lang natin yung mga given dito. We have the 81.72, which is what is 81.72? 81.72 is the sample mean. Kasi sabi dito, sample of 200 and got the mean of 81.72. So, this is x bar. X bar is equals to 81.72. Next, with the population deviation of 15, standard deviation, population standard deviation population standard deviation. So this is theta 15, or sigma equals to 15. Then the population mean daw, which is our u, is 79.83. Okay, so ito yung mga importanteng kailangan natin. Use the 0.05 level of significance. Later natin gagamitin yan kapag nasa population decision making na tayo. For the meantime, we are focused on the value. So mapapansin natin dito that n equals to 100. So ibig sabihin we'll be using the z value. Z. So ano nga muna ating formula? Our formula, yan, tatabunan, z is equals to mean minus u over population standard deviation over the square root of n. So, mauuna muna ang sample mean. Sample mean is 81.72. So, that's 81.72 minus the population mean, which is 79.83, all over the standard deviation of 15 over the square root of 100, of 200. Sorry, this is 200. So this is square root of 200. Okay? So unahin muna natin yung pinaka-basic natin, which is yung taas natin. That's 81.72. 81.72 divided by 79.83. So that will be 1 point, sorry, divided by, ba't ko dinivide? Minus lang pala tayo. 81.72 minus 79.83. So that's 1.89. 1.89. Since it's very obvious na ang square root of 200 is not exact, huwag muna natin siyang kunin. So kung ilalagay natin to sa calculator, it will be 1.89 divided by, open parenthesis, 15 divided by the square root of 200. Yan ang ilalagay natin sa calculator. Okay? So ulitin natin, that's 1.89 divided by, open parenthesis, 15 divided by the square root of 200, close parenthesis, and we'll be having 1 point, in 4 decimal places tayo, 7819. Do you have the same answer? It's
Yes, sir.
1.7819. Okay po. Bakit ko po hindi muna in-square root ang 200? Kasi nagkakaroon tayo ng discrepancy kapag kinuha natin agad yan, basta i-round off. Wala muna tayong rounding off na mangyayari. Sa dulo tayo mag-round off sa final answer. Okay, so it will be better na isulat natin siya as 1.89 divided by, open parenthesis, 15 divided by the square root of 200. Okay, so let's have another one. I think this is very easy naman para sa inyo na maintindihan kung ano ginagawa natin. Let's have example number 3. Yan. In the past, the average length of outgoing call from a business office has been 140 seconds. A manager wishes to check whether the average has been decreased after the introduction of the policy changes. A sample of 150 telephone calls produced a mean of 135 with a standard deviation of 30 seconds. Perform the relevant tests at 1% level of significance. So, magkaliwanagan lang tayo dito sa different parts na given. So, ang sabi, the average length of the outgoing call from a business office has been 140 seconds. So, ano tong 140 seconds na to? Anyone? May gusto pong sumagot? Ano yung 140 seconds na yun?
Mean po, sir.
Mean ng ano? Sample or population?
Population.
Okay po, correct. It's the population. So that's mean of the population is equals to 140 seconds. Let's check. So clear na tayo dito. Let's have 150. Ano yung 150?
Sir, yun po yung N. Sample size.
That's the sample size. That's correct. N equals 150. How about the 135?
Sir, yun po yung sample mean po.
Correct. It is the sample mean. So that is X bar. Eh ano tong 30 seconds?
Sample standard deviation po.
Okay, very good. It's the sample standard deviation, not the population standard deviation. It is a sample. So that will be S. Hindi natin gagamitin yung sigma. Ang gagamitin natin yung S as 30. Okay? Ngayon, anong gagamitin natin? Z-test or T-test?
Z-test, sir.
Yes po, z-test ang gagamitin natin. Yes, because our our sample naman is 150 and at least we have our sample standard deviation. Yung sample standard deviation will take over the population standard deviation. Okay? So, ganun pa rin yung magiging process. So, we have z is equals to our sample muna. Sample mean which is 135 minus our mean of the population, which is 140, all over our sample standard deviation is 30, all over the square root of 150. Okay? So, ang kaya natin kuhanin muna yung taas, which will be negative 5. Then, hindi natin kayang kuhanin or walang perfect na square root, ang square root of 150. So, wag muna natin kunin. So, that is 30 over the square root of 150. So, idedirekta natin yun sa calculator. So, that will be negative 5 divided by, open parenthesis, 30 divided by the square root of 150, close parenthesis. Yan ang makikita natin sa ating calculator. So that is negative 5 divided by the square, open parenthesis, 30 divided by the square root of 150. And the answer is negative
2.0412 po. 12 po.
2.0412. That's correct. Negative 2.0412. Okay? Okay po tayo dyan. Okay? Cleared natin ito. Let's have another one. Let's have this one naman. Sample. Compute for the t-value. The t-value given the following information. So given naman ito, we have our sample mean which is 129.5. We have our population mean which is 127. We have the sample standard deviation which is 5 and our population our sample number which is 12. So it is very obvious. It is very obvious na ang ginamit natin ay 12. Gagamitin natin ay t kasi ang population natin ay 12. Okay? Population natin ay 12 pero hindi given ang ang sample natin ay 12 pero hindi given ang population standard deviation. Ang given sa atin ay sample standard deviation kaya mananatili siyang t-test. Kung anong nangyari, example lang ha, kung ang nangyari ay ang n natin ay 12, pero yung 5 natin dito ay population standard deviation or sigma is equals to 5. Hindi t-test ang gagamitin natin, kundi z-test. Pero dahil ang given sa atin ay s, 12 na nga siya. So ibig sabihin, t-test talaga ang gagamitin natin. So, pero we have the same formula din. Pareho lang naman ang formula yan. Ang t-test ay may pareho lang na formula. So, to compute for that, so t is equals to 129.5 minus 127 all over 5 over the square root of 12. I think it's very obvious here. That's 129 minus 129.5 minus 127. That will be 2.5 if I am not mistaken. Please correct me kapag may mali ako. 2.5 over 5 over the square root of 12. Okay? So, sa calculator natin, susulat natin as 2.5 divided by, open parenthesis, 5 divided by the square root of 12. Yan. So what will be our final answer? So that's 2.5 divided by open parenthesis 5 divided by the square root of 12. So that is
73.
1.73
21.
21. Kasi it's 0.5. Okay? So that's 1.7321. Clear? Any questions so far? Clear naman po ito. Okay. So let's have another one. Let's clear this up. Okay, how about this one? Hindi naman siya given na as given. The government claims that the monthly expenses of a Filipino family with four members is 10,000. A sample of 26 family expenses has a mean of 10,900 and a standard deviation of 1,250. Is there enough evidence to reject the government claim at alpha is equals to 0.01? Later ko papaliwanag yung mga 0.01 yan. Ilan ang n natin dito?
26.
Correct. It's 26. Since that's 26, not sure pa tayo kung z-test or t-test. Okay? We have to know muna ano ang given. Population standard deviation or sample standard deviation. Population or sample? Correct. This 1,250 is a sample standard deviation. So that's 1 to 50. Okay, 1 to 50. What is our 10,000?
Sample, ano po? Standard.
That's the population mean.
Mean po.
Of 10,000. And our 10,900
sample mean
is our sample mean. So our t-test will be 10,900 minus 10,000 all over what is ours, 1,250 over the square root of 26. Over the square root of 26. So that's 10,900 minus 20,000. That will be 900 over 1,250 over the square root of 26. So ano makukuha natin? Alam niyo na kung paano isulat yan sa calculator. So that's 900 divided by open parenthesis 1,250 divided by the square root of 26. Ano nakuha nyo?
3.6713 po.
3.6713. That's correct. So that's 3.6713. Correct. Any questions so far? Clear po tayo sa pagkuha ng computed t-value at c-value. Clear po tayo dyan. Okay. So we can move on to module number 7. So clear ko na to. Okay. Let's have the module number 7. The module number 7 is drawing conclusion about the population mean based on test statistic value and critical region. Okay? So dito papasok na ngayon yung ating pong narinig natin, which is the confidence level na lumalabas po kanina. Please take note that we'll be using the following. Napahalaga ng ating pong level of significance at saka po critical value natin. So paki-ano po yan, nasa inyo po yan, may binigay po ako sa inyong copy niyan at meron din po, sabi natin, meron din yan sa ating pong module number 5. Balikan po natin sa module number 5. Ngayon, let's have this one. Meron tayong general rule. Okay po, we have the general rule. Pakikopya lang po ito or paki-screen share. So we have the general rule for or also called as the two-tailed. Tandaan natin ang two-tailed is either none. Sabi po natin sa two-tailed ay it's either hindi siya directional kasi it's either ito o ito. May equal or not equal. Yun lang po yung two-tailed. Okay po? And we also have the rule for right-tailed and left-tailed. Mamaya natin, nasabi ko na rin niya po yan kung paano magiging right-tailed at left-tailed. Mamaya babalikan ulit natin yan. Okay? So we also have the computed, we have here computed value is greater than critical value, and the computed value is less than the critical value. So we have what we call reject the null and support the alternative hypothesis. Mamaya babalikan natin yan. Okay? So ipapasok ko rin to mamaya sa inyo pong GC para magamit nyo. Okay, let's have the number 1. Kung mapapansin natin dito sa number 1, balikan lang natin to. So the compute for its value given the following information. 0.05 interpreted as the value. So meron tayo dito na mean which is 7.5. We have the population standard deviation which is 8. We have our population mean which is 70 and n equals to 100. So it is very obvious that we'll be using z value, z-test. Okay po, kita po agad natin na z-test ang gagamitin natin kasi we have our sample number as 100. Clip po tayo doon. So gagawin natin yung ginawa natin kanina. Okay? Ang question lang, anong klaseng tail siya? Two-tailed ba siya or one-tailed? Paano natin malalaman? Two-tailed siya kung ang ating pong hypothesis, ang alternative hypothesis natin ay ang null at saka po ang alternative hypothesis natin ay equal or not equal. Okay? So, eto nasa baba yan. Kapag ang hypothesis natin ay equal at ang alternative natin ay not equal, that is two-tailed or general rule. Pero, since makikita natin dito, we have our null hypothesis as equal, but our alternative hypothesis as U is greater than 70. So tingnan natin dito sa baba. Ano ang alternative? Alternative is greater than. Alternative is greater than. So ibig sabihin, it's a right-tailed. Okay po, right-tailed siya. So this is one-tailed. One-tailed siya pero right-tailed siya. Okay po, right-tailed. Please take note of that. Right-tailed siya at one-tailed siya. Okay, ngayon, paano natin to isosolve? Or paano tayo mag-draw ng conclusion dito? Una nating i-test or identify is our computed C value. The computed C value natin will be coming from 71.5 minus 70 all over 8 over the square root of 100. So, kinumpute natin yan. So, after computation, makukuha natin ang Z value natin as 1.875. Nakita po yon. Kapag na-compute, yung ginawa natin kanina, it's 1.875. That will be our computed value. Please take note of that. That will be our computed C value. Ngayon, ano ang critical value natin? Kasi yun ang paglalabanin natin. Sabi natin, it's one-tailed. Tama? One-tailed. Bagos ay, it is z-test. Ano ang kanyang confidence level? Ang alpha natin is 0.05. 0.05. So, 0.05 z-test. So, balikan natin yon. Babalik tayo dun sa table. Yan. So for Z critical value, so ito yon 1%, 2.5%, 5%, and 10%. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Ano ba ang tanong sa atin kanina? That's 0.05. 0.05 means, kung compute natin, i-change natin ang 0.05 into percentage, that will be 5%. Okay? 5% siya. Okay, 5%. Ngayon, kung 5% siya, ano siya? One-tailed o two-tailed? Sabi natin kanina, it's one-tailed. Kasi, ano nga siya, directional nga siya. So, ang value na ay 1.645. 1.645. So, punta tayo ngayon. Dito, 1645. Compute natin. So, we have the Z value as 1645. It can be positive, negative. And we have this computed C, which is 1.875. 1875. Ngayon. Ngayon, ang tanong natin, anong ano siya? Right there, this is right-tailed. Right-tailed siya. Sino mas malaki ngayon? Si computed or si critical? Computed is 1.875. Ang critical value natin is 1645. So, ibig sabihin, mas malaki si computed. Okay? Mas malaki si computed. So, balik tayo dun sa ating pong graph. Ang sabi dito, clear po natin, mas malaki si computed, no? So, ito yung computed. Computed value is greater than the critical value. So, punta tayo sa right-tailed. So, ibig sabihin, reject null hypothesis, support alternative hypothesis. Reject null, support alternative hypothesis. So, ibig sabihin, that will be our final decision. Reject null and support alternative hypothesis. So, tingnan natin kung tama. The computed value is 8.75, which is greater than the critical value of 1645. Therefore, we reject the null hypothesis and support the alternative hypothesis. That's our answer. Reject null hypothesis and support alternative hypothesis. Clear po tayo? Medyo magulo pa? Okay po. Any reaction so far? Dito, may question. Wala pa naman po. So let's have another one. So clear natin to. Let's have the next one. This is example number 2. Compute for its value given the following. A is equals to 0.01 interpret. So mapapansin natin, our null hypothesis here is U is equals to 127. Our alternative hypothesis is U is less than 127. So if that is less than, that will be one directional, at left-tailed siya. Kaya mapansin nyo, left-tailed siya. One directional, left-tailed. Okay. Ngayon, tingnan natin yung given. Rn is equals to 12. So, ibig sabihin, ang gagamitin natin ay hindi pa sure. Tingnan muna natin anong given. Ang given natin ay, ang mean ay 124.5 for the sample. For the population mean is 127 and our sample mean is 5. So hindi given ang population, our sample standard deviation is 5, hindi given ang population standard deviation. Ibig sabihin, we'll be using t-test. Okay po? So ginamit po natin ang t-test, lumabas na ang value natin ay negative 1.736. Negative po. Tandaan natin. negative 1.736. Sulat ko lang po dito ha, para po magamit natin. T computed is equals to negative 1.736. Okay, ngayon po natin. Ngayon, it is one direction. Okay po. Tandaan natin, we have n as 12. So, balik tayo sa ating pong this is our t-distribution. Pag t-distribution, tandaan natin, t-distribution, meron tayong freedom, degree of freedom. Ano yung degree of freedom? That is n minus 1. So kanina, ang sample natin, number is 12. Diba? Ang sample natin ay 12. So ibig sabihin, we'll be using 11. Okay po? So we'll be using 11. So punta tayo doon. Balik lang muna tayo. So, ang titingnan natin ay 11. Okay, ngayon, 11 yung tingin natin. Ngayon, ang sabi natin, that is for one-tailed. One-tailed. So, tingin tayo sa taas, 0.05, 0.025, 0.1, and 0.05. Ano bang given sa atin? That use 0.01. 0.01 ang gagamitin. 0.01. One tail, 0.01. So that's the 0.01, one tail. Tingnan natin yung 11. That's 2.718. 2.718. Okay po, 2.718. So 2.718, we have our P value as 2.718. 1.8. Clear po tayo? Ngayon, let's move. The question now, sino ngayon ang mas malaki? Sa left-tailed. So, left-tailed tayo, di ba? Left-tailed. So, mas malaki ngayon si computed. Mas malaki pala si value. P-value o critical value. So, ibig sabihin, computed is less than, mas mali ito, kaysa critical value. So, ibig sabihin yan, reject null hypothesis, support alternative hypothesis. Check na natin kung tama ang ating decision. Computed value is greater than our t-value, which is 0.01, which is negative 2.718. Magiging negative pala to. So negative, so since we are left-tailed, our conclusion will be failed to reject the null hypothesis. Magiging negative pala itong negative 2.718. Ito po yun. Ba't siya naging negative? Kasi dito siya, left. Left. So this will be negative. Sorry, nakalimutan kong i-negative siya. That will be negative 2.718. Okay. Bakit po siya naging left? Yan. Dito siya. Ito yung pinag-uusapan natin. Okay. So, mas malaki ngayon si critical value, which is negative 1.736. So, ibig sabihin, ang gagawin natin ngayon ay our conclusion is fail to reject the null hypothesis. Fail to reject the null hypothesis. Kasi mas malaki technically si computed. Kasi tandaan natin pag negative, mas maliit ang value, mas malaki. Okay? Mas maliit ang value, mas malaki. So bakit po ito anti kasi ay nasa left? Kaya naging negative, gagawin rin natin negative yung ating computed value. Let's take note of that. Kapag lumabas sa ating t-computed ay positive, gagamitin natin ay positive. Dahil this is negative, negative rin yung p-value. Dapat pantay ang labanan. Okay? So, ngayon, that's negative 1.736 at saka negative 2.718. Mas malaki ngayon si computed. So, we failed balik tayo sa decision making. Sa decision making natin, ang decision maker natin left, mas malaki. So fail to reject and do not support the alternative hypothesis. Fail to reject the null and do not support the alternative hypothesis. Yan. So yun yung sinasabi niya. Okay? That's the conclusion. Okay. So let's have another one. How about this one? The government claims that 10,000 is the monthly expenses of a Filipino family for 4 members. The sample is 26. Mapapansin natin, yan yung kaninang compute natin. Ang ating hypothesis, null hypothesis is equal. At ang null hypothesis natin is not equal. So this is a two-directional. Two-tailed. Two-tailed kasi not equal or not equal lang siya. So kapag na-compute natin, ang n natin ay 26, ang sample standard deviation lang ang given. So ibig sabihin, RT is 3.617. Okay? 3.671. Ngayon, that will be our computed t value. So sulat lang natin. T critical T computed is 3.671. Okay? Given 2.5%, so that is 0.025. 0.025. Tandaan, this is non-directional or general. Kasi equal or not equal lang tayo. So punta tayo sa ating pong given. Yan. For two-tailed tayo. Two-tailed ang gagamitin natin. Okay. So 0.025. 26 kanina ang sample natin. So that's 26 minus 1. 26 minus 1 is 25. So ano ang 25 natin? Or two-tailed tayo. Two-tailed test. 0.25. 25. So our
2.485 po.
critical value. Our critical value is 2.485. Tama? 2.485. Ngayon. Kung yan ang given sa atin, punta tayo ngayon sa ating pong dito. Dito tayo pupunta. General rule or two-tailed? General rule or two-tailed? So, sino mas malaki? Si computed or si critical? Si computed. 3671. Computed value is greater than critical value. Reject null hypothesis. Support alternative hypothesis. Tingnan natin. Yan. Yan. So the absolute value of computed value is greater than, so that is 3.671 is greater than 2.485. Therefore, we reject the null hypothesis and support the alternative hypothesis. Okay po? Okay po tayo. Tandaan po natin ito ang general rule ha. Kapag ang atin po ay two-tailed, please take note of that. Two-tailed, or ibig sabihin ang ating null at saka alternative ay equal at not equal lang. Ang ginagamit po natin is absolute value. Okay, absolute value. Pero pag po doon sa one-tailed na left or right, we are using the exact value. Kung negative, negative. Kung positive, positive. Okay? Kaso nga lang, kapag negative at positive, yung value na ay magiging negative kung ang computed C value natin ay negative din. Magiging value niya ay positive kung ang computed value natin ay positive din. Okay po. Click po tayo. Okay po. So we'll be using our gagamitin natin ang ating pong table. Gagamitin natin ang table na to para malaman natin kung ano ang ilalagay natin. Kung reject pa siya or accept null hypothesis. Tandaan ha, please take note of this. Pag na-reject natin, this is reject null hypothesis, ang nilalagay natin ay hindi do not reject. It's failed to reject. Bakit po? Hindi naman po kasi ibig sabihin na ni-reject mo ay mali na siya. Pag sinabi mo kasing do not reject, ibig sabihin nun ay maaring absolute yon, absolute. For the meantime, ibig sabihin po nun, if we fail to reject natin, kasi depende sa sitwasyon kung gaano kaliit o kalaki ang sample. For the given sample natin, ang pansamantang word natin ay failed to reject or accept, failed to reject or reject. Yun ang gagamitin natin ha. Reject or failed to reject. Support or failed to support. Or do not support. Okay po? Clear po tayo dyan? Question so far?
Sir, paano nga po kunin yung critical value nga po?
Ang critical value po natin ay nasa, eto po, sa table po natin. Nasa table po natin. So, you have to look whether it's one-tailed or two-tailed, Z-test or T-test, at ano ang kanyang alpha or confidence level. 1%, 2.5%, 5%, at 10%. Okay? Then titingin po tayo doon. Tandaan natin kapag T-test, meron tayong freedom. So yung N natin ay babawasan natin ng isa bago tayo tumingin. Pero kapag Z-test, it's absolute. Ito lang yung value niya. Walang nababago. Okay po? Question pa? Maliwanag po yung Katarina?
Opo, sir. Thank you.
Okay po. So that's it for today. I'll be sending the activities on your GC. Okay po, and you may start doing this. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you po. Thank you po.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you po. Bye-bye.